Art is a calling, it's a vocation, in much the same way that the priesthood is a vocation. Religion is a way to describe a legal system built around a mystic vision. And I aspire to the mystic vision. I had that idea that you need to go off and do something that is useful in the world. And I went to Kalamazoo College, got a biology major, learned many things about the sciences, but the most important thing I remembered was that most of my colleagues in the sciences were not that open-minded or all that interested in the truth. And at some point or another, I recognized that I did not want to share a life with those kinds of people. And so I went off to art school, which is to say that I finally recognized what is my true calling and what I really should be doing. Because there was nothing wrong with the scientists. Their feigned objectivity was no worse than the feigned objectivity or feigned truthfulness of the art community. They're quite a bunch of backstabbing, miserable people too. They just seem more like my people than do the others, that's all. The place of the artist is really much more akin to a philosopher these days than it is to a craftsman, positing something that will lead you to think. So you have to be a generator of ideas. And that's an interesting position to be in. So what is it that's important about art? Why do you want to make art? I think it shows up in my artwork in that I have a curiosity about the world about me. So how that relates to the human being, to an environmentalist sort of position of being interested in the spiritual aspect of the land we live in, how the spirits of the place speak to us, and through the biology actually being anchored here in this place now. So it's a bit of a scattergun, and yet I think that it comes together in the artwork in ways that elicit something a little bit more or evoke something that is indeed important. While you're drawing and your mind is just a little bit on vacation, a lot of good ideas start coming up when you're not forcing them. And here you have something like the brainstem. It's an insect. It's an insect larva taking over the interior mental process of this person. His ear becomes like a cochlea. It's all analogous. Various biological principles repeating themselves, just like branching trees, branching neural nets, branching of ideas. I find that just with a pencil in hand and a piece of paper, I can get things happening that seem brilliant. And I say, well, where'd that come from? That came out of me? I had no idea that was in me, people are always asking, where do ideas come from? And God only knows where they come from. Drawing is the primary thing. That's the underpinning of all art. The lines that you put down with a pencil, those are bones, Bones are where it's at. That's the language we use. Drawing is the first immediate response to nature. And most museum people and most art galleries have absolutely no idea. They wouldn't know what to do with it, and most of us don't know what to do with it either. Ultimately, the best of our work is lost for lack of being taken seriously. And so we have to turn it into a beautiful painting, or an etching or something else. And which isn't to say that a beautiful painting or etching aren't a good thing, but for the most part, it's somewhat secondary. It's a reflection of sorts. And it's disconcerting how hard it is to show that and be taken seriously when we know it's the best there is. I remember a really fine artist named Richard Sutton who disappeared somewhere off into the North Woods. Couldn't make a living of it like most artists. He came up with the idea that it was to be genuine. That's the only thing that's actually important. And the more I reflect upon that with the years, the more I realized that the guy was really dead on. There's so many things you can say about art, and they're passing fancies. And anything that is really contemporary now is just so quaintly dated a year from now. It's just almost pathetic. It's all immaterial. But what is not immaterial is when you encounter something that comes out of the depths of a soul that is genuine. And that's what we all have to shoot for. It's like climbing a mountain, walking for a week, to go make a pilgrimage to something, and it just seems so silly. What are you doing that for? At the top of the mountain, what is there up there? Some twisted old tree that's been there for 6,000 years. And it kind of looks like any old twisted tree, but it's been there for 6,000 years, and it's undeniable. I've done that. I've actually climbed mountains to go visit old trees. If you go up to the White Mountains, for instance, above Bishop, California, there are trees up there that are living. They're 5,000 years old. And those trees that are alive today were seeded at the time of the ancient Egyptians. Essentially, that one tree has spanned the complete time frame in its one single biological lifetime of the written word. How can you not be moved by that?
Kind of spooky, isn't it? Maybe I should do this thing. Take me to your leader. Well, let's take a good look inside the hive and see what the bees are doing. Up to the usual kinds of bee activities. So, I'll try to tilt this up so we can get a look at it. What I've done is I've put a bunch of my artwork into the beehive here, which I find kind of interesting. And you'll see that I've glued down some etchings on paper and put them into the beehive. I've constructed a kind of a holder system here so that there's a lot and the bees can get in there. And they've been building up the wax honeycomb on the surface of the image. I'm going to try to pry one out for you to get a better look at so you can see what's going on. And it's glued up good. They've got a lot of propolis all over everything. It's a funny thing with artwork and originality. I've always been amused by that because, you think about how many billions of people exist on the face of the earth. Well, how original can anything really be? You sort of think that basically all varieties of human existence and creativity have probably been done by now. And somebody's tried it out. Somebody's been there before you. And yet, here and there, you do something with that, not necessarily the big C creativity, you know, that like no one's ever done it before, but all of us are somehow unique. And if you're true to yourself, if you're, I guess maybe just genuine, you know, that's where it comes out, where the creativity is somehow real, you know, it's not an affectation. And for me, I think that's what working with artwork in the beehives has been. I won't be the least bit surprised that other people have done it before me, because it seems like the most self-evident thing in the world to do. But you know, I haven't seen it done before me, and I find that fascinating. I guess all self-evident and kind of cool ideas happen for the first time somewhere with somebody, right? So anyhow, let's get a look at this a little bit here. Oh, good, look at it. We have another side. Oh, these are great, yeah. These are some apple trees I did in the Czech Republic. It's up in the mountains of the, very close to the Bavarian border. These trees would have been done in an area that, throughout the communist era, was actually forbidden zone. You couldn't enter it. It was no man's land between East Bloc and the West Bloc. And it would have been right about in the area my parents actually escaped from Czechoslovakia in 1948. They could have walked right past those trees. That's kind of cool. Old apple trees. Now if you look closely there, you'll see that there really is quite a bit of honey and comb being built up between the sections of the frames. And it's just bee soup down in there. Isn't it beautiful? And if you're gentle, you can pet them and, you know, like get right down in the normal state. Just like to where you're just brushing your backs. Get your palm down over it. It'll be like this. Or even be like buzzing their little wings or